This episode of the Sensibly Cynical podcast is sponsored by SC Graphics. This company is incredible. They focus on creating, collaborating, and growing with each and every project, including the actual Sensibly Cynical logo. My boy at Seth CGC helps artists, creators, streamers, brands, and businesses with logos, visuals, print production, and special projects. He also provides free 30-minute consultations. Make sure you check out his website, scgraphics.co. Welcome to another episode of the Sensibly Cynical podcast. My name is Sean, and today's episode is a great one. I am set to be joined by Natalis Ruby. She is a Grammy Nominated singer-songwriter out of the Bronx. She's absolutely incredible. This is, an awesome interview, and I'm excited to share it with you. So, without further ado, here is my interview with Natalis Ruby. Joining me now, she is a multi-platinum selling, 2-time Grammy-nominated singer-songwriter out of the Bronx, Natalis Ruby. What's up?
What's up? Thank you for the introduction.
Are you a Yankees fan? I'm just kidding.
I am a Yankee fan.
Oh, I got it right.
But I haven't had time to watch baseball in a while, so don't ask me stats. I stopped watching when Derek Jeter retired.
Oh, okay, yeah, I remember that play, that little flip he did to get the guy out at home. Mm-hmm. That was pretty cool. But can you talk about your beginnings musically and your journey to your success in the industry?
Sure. So I started singing very young, and once I was in a position to make my own decisions, I joined local choirs in my neighborhood, and I sang at a community church. And so that's where I started to build my experience. And it wasn't until after college, because I did the whole college thing, listening to my parents, music isn't going to get you anywhere. You have to have a plan B. So I focused on that first. And then after I finished school, I'm like, okay, I proved myself. Now it's time to do what I want to do. And at the time that was happening, when that transition was taking place in my life, old choir director called me up and he was like, I have an opportunity to sing background vocals. Are you available? So I said yes, because I got all of my training from him. I trust him, and I know that he's not going to send me to do anything strange. And I asked no questions at the same time. So when I got there to the studio, I found out that I was singing background vocals for J. Cole on his album Born Sinner. And he was in the studio kind of coaching everyone and letting the producers know what he was looking for sonically. And so for me, that was like a Kickstarter moment. That was a confirming moment for me, just letting me know this transition that I'm about to make in my life is appropriate. And I just felt like I had purpose, I felt like that was the green light that the universe was giving me. And so from that moment on, I spent some time figuring out what I wanted my sound to be like. And, I lived life a little bit and tried to gain inspiration from my experiences in my life and put it to the music. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of how this journey started, and I've been independent ever since. I'm open to, partnering with a major label, but at this time, that's just not, it's not on the table right now. So I'm holding off for the right opportunity and just making good music in the meantime.
Well, whoever gets you, they'll be lucky,
Oh, thanks.
I like your stuff. So
I'm putting it out in the universe that I'm going to align with a label that understands my vision, understands me as an artist, and is going to allow me to be the creative person that I am, and will put me in platforms that are necessary for me to reach a wider audience, because I feel like I have a lot of good things to talk about. And I feel like people could relate to some of the struggles that I've been through, and it would just nice to be able to share that.
Let's go back to 2015. What was it like making your debut EP, Ascension?
Yeah, so the EP was taking place, like I was creating it around the same time that I got through that whole J. Cole and Kanye West amazing experience. And so I was also just newly finding out that I have lupus. So I was dealing with a lot of stuff internally, and I was also in denial about my diagnosis. And so this EP was kind of like my escape, and also a reminder to myself that I'm here to live in my purpose, and that my purpose is making good music and connecting with people in that way. And so, it came together kind of organically. I met producers that kind of understood what I was in search of, that were friends of mine and could connect to the stories that I was trying to tell. And that's kind of how it came together.
How long was the process? Was it something that just happened like really quick?
No. So I would say it took about a year and a half to create, and that was just because I wasn't working on it every day. I was kind of just allowing moments to happen that made sense, as opposed to like going out and finding opportunities to make it happen. So it took a longer period of time, and then once I finalized it, it took me a while to want to release it and share it. Because I had all of these internal conversations like, people are going to hate it, I'm not worthy.
My favorite song on there is Let Go. That lyric kind of spoke to me, the one that said, time to live life and let go. What was the inspiration behind that song?
So that was a co-write. I wrote that song with two of my close friends, Phoenix and Nick Dre. And they kind of knew what I was struggling with internally, but they also had their own things going on. And we were collectively in the same place where, it was time to just surrender and allow some time for us to focus on ourselves and be the people that we want to be. And so that's how that song came about. And like I told you earlier, I was on the cusp of just finding out that I had lupus. And for me, that meant that I was going to have to let go of a lot of things that were stressing me out, things that weren't making sense, food that I'm not supposed to be eating, my perception of the illness itself. Like, there was so much that I had to let go of if I wanted to move forward peacefully. And
right.
So that song is a staple in that time of my life.
Right. Well, it's just amazing. It's amazing music, and it's like a healer for everybody, right? Because
yeah, absolutely.
And the fact that you're so transparent about your story, I really appreciate it.
No doubt. Thank you. I mean, I feel like we go through things to share them with others so that other people can connect and possibly not make the same mistakes that we've made, and also so they won't feel alone. Whenever I get like, man, should I share this aspect of myself, I try to focus out, like, there might be somebody out there that is going through the same thing that I am, and they need to hear that it's okay.
Mm-hmm. I agree 100%. So I saw online that you had 2 songs that made the Wendy Williams movie. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is true.
What were those 2 songs, and what was that process like?
So we got the intro to the movie, and the song is called How You Doing? And it was supposed to be like an updated version of the song that she plays on her talk show. I don't know if you've watched the Wendy Williams talk show, but she has like this little jingle at the beginning and when she goes to commercial break. And then the second song is called Suddenly. And so these songs were tailor-made for the movie. One of my producers contacted me because he has a relationship with Lifetime TV. And he said, Wendy Williams, she's making a movie, and the music supervisors, this is what they're looking for. And so, he described them needing something that sounded like the theme song for the show, and then they also wanted something that sounded like 90s R&B to mark a certain moment in her life where she was transforming and not doing the things that she was used to doing all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So we took those things into consideration, and we just went into the lab. We did most of it virtually because this happened during the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
So, he sent me his ideas, and then I would send him my ideas, and we kind of went back and forth 2 or 3 times until we got our final product now. once we had our final product, we had to compete against everyone else that was submitting for this movie. And from what he told me, there was like 1,000 other producers that also submitted for these scenes. So we submitted, and we just left it up to the universe. We left it up to God. You know, if it's meant to be, it'll be. And then 2 weeks after we submitted the songs, we got the call that it was going to be in the movie. But at the time, they told us only one song had made it, that it was the Suddenly song.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, we were excited about that. And then the movie came out, and as soon as the movie starts, I hear my friend's production, and I'm like, oh my God, they're using his production. So I thought maybe they just kept the beat. But then I heard my voice kick in, and I was like, oh my God, I'm singing the intro for the movie. And my family was like, you didn't know? And I was like, no, I didn't know. They only told me about this one song, but now it's 2 songs. And so that second song was a surprise. And that's the story.
That's awesome. That's a story, and you're sticking to it. I love that.
Yeah.
When I read that, I'm like, man, that's awesome. So was that validation for you that all your hard work is paying off?
I mean, it definitely was validation, and I felt like I'm on the right path. In December, the year prior, because, you know, the movie came out in January. So in December, I had made a strong prayer, and I also had written down some affirmations and things that I wanted to see for myself and what I wanted to accomplish in 2021. And I wrote in my iPad, I said that I wanted to get at least 3 songs placed in a major film or TV show. And so for me, that was like, wow, the power of prayer, the power of manifestation, and what I could accomplish if I see myself doing this and I actually put intentions toward getting that done.
Right. What was it like getting the nomination from the credit from the Recording Academy? What was it like?
Yeah. So this happened at the very beginning stages of my career. So I didn't even know that it happened until a year and a half after. And because my choir director is so used to like moving on to the next song, next project, he's a very busy guy. You know, he didn't tell me until much later. I remember seeing other people that were involved in the project, like posting their certificates for the nomination. And I was like, wait a second, I was on that song too. How do I get that? I was probably one of the last people to find out that we were nominated for those projects.
Oh, okay.
And once I did, you know, I was extremely excited, and I was like, wow, what does this mean? How does this impact my career? What do I have access to now, being that, you know, this is something that I can put on my resume?
Yeah, it's like, let me capitalize on this. I hear you.
Yeah. And so I found out that, you know, because of that nomination and some other things that I have worked on thereafter, I was able to become a member of the Recording Academy New York chapter. That you have access to a whole other network of people that are striving and trying to do the same thing. So it was kind of like a cool stepping stone.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on the whole Spotify, royalties? What's your thoughts on all that?
I mean, I feel like artists are not getting paid enough. Obviously, 0.0008 of a dollar is not enough for a stream. And these companies are all making loads of money, and they're in bed with each other. You know what I'm saying? Like, DistroKid has stake in Spotify, and I don't know how many other labels. If you do the research, you'll see that they're all feeding off of each other. And so the independent artists were kind of like at the bottom of the ocean, trying to find our way up to this larger body of water where we could be seen and heard. So that's my take on that. But on the flip side, you know, Spotify is great for reaching people worldwide. I feel like music is able to stretch even further now because of these platforms. The only thing that sucks is that, like, are they really fair, and are they really paying out what they should be paying for people who work hard to put these songs together?
What was the genesis behind Nowhere Together, the collab you did with, was Brooklyn?
So at that time, I was going through a phase where, like, I was missing somebody so bad. And this was before the pandemic, because I decided to leave New York City and move to another state and kind of like start over. And I understood that meant letting go of a lot of relationships. And so there was one relationship in particular that was hard for me to be away from. And so this song was my opportunity to like share that with the world, how I felt. Like I wanted people to hear my cry.
Yeah.
And you know, Blue Clint, he's so cool. I met him online as well. We met on Instagram, and he had heard some of my songs on my website, and he told me, you know, that he started working on something but needed help finishing it. And when I heard his ideas, I was like, wow, this is the vibe that I'm on right now, and your track is the catalyst for me to express that. And it kind of like, it happened so organically, and in the end, we were both so in love with the song, and it just made sense.
Yeah. So was that just something that was quick?
We got the song, the whole song, it took me about an hour and a half to write and record it. And so after I did that, I sent it to him for his feedback, and he had, you know, little things here and there that he asked me to change. So I would say a total of 2 days, but in work hours, maybe 2 hours, it took for us to finish writing it. And then the mixing and mastering phase was the part that took the longest, because I'm very particular about how my voice sounds. And when you're not in the studio with someone as they're mixing, it's hard to hear how things are coming out. So we went through several rounds of feedback, and I just wasn't happy with it. And he was like, okay, well, you know, we won't release it for now until we find someone that can mix it to your liking. And then eventually we invested in getting it mixed at Abbey Road Studios.
Mm-hmm.
And when they mixed and mastered it, like that was the one. But it took like several months for us to get a mix that we both really liked.
Right, right. So talk about your new album, Good Fridays. I see your single, But God, has success on the Billboard charts. What was it like doing that?
This project was fun, and for me it was more like an answered prayer. It was another one of those moments where like I sat down and I prayed, and I asked God a question. I was like, God, if you want me to make music for you, I'm here. Use me. Let me know what you want me to do. Because until then, I'm just going to keep doing what I've always done. And within a month of that prayer, I got a call from these two producers, Mr. Foster and Davis Chris. And they asked me, hey, you know, we would like to put a gospel project together. Is that something that you would be interested in? And I was like, look at God. That was quick. So they went over their ideas with me, and it kind of just fell in line with all of the things I was trying to say at that moment in time. And in the beginning, it was supposed to be multiple people on the project. But as we got closer to like the finish line, it made more sense for it to be just me and the two guys. So that's how that project came about. And I wrote the whole album in 2 weeks.
Wow.
I was ready. Yeah.
You just write to it and bada bing, bada boom, huh?
Yeah, this one I was ready. You know? And it sort of helped that the guys had a very strict deadline as well, because they had a marketing plan in mind that they wanted to test out with this particular album. And so they were like, if we're going to hit these targets, I need you to deliver by this day. And then, you know, that kind of put the battery in my back to get it done, as opposed to my first EP where I was like, no deadline. I can finish what I want.
Yeah.
But no, this one was like very like, we need it done by this day. And so that's how that played out.
Mm-hmm. Who were your musical influences growing up?
My top three: Janet Jackson, Mariah Carey, and Jennifer Lopez.
J-Lo. I still remember J-Lo back in the day, man. She was. I had a crush. I had a crush on J-Lo, of course. I mean, who didn't? You know, J-Lo was awesome. Yeah. What was it about her that you really admired?
So I liked J-Lo before she even got into singing. I thought she was a great actress. After seeing Money Train, she kind of like won my heart as a kid. And then when she played the role Selena, that kind of like just put my love for her on steroids.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, that's when she like started doing music. So for me, it was like amazing to see her growth, like for her to be just the next average girl from the Bronx like me, make it to such a large platform. Like she's worldwide now, you know, and we grew up 10 minutes away from each other. So that's the part about J-Lo that inspires me and that I love about her. She's a go-getter, and, you know, she's an enterprise at this point in her life.
Yeah. You mentioned producing and putting the album together during the pandemic. How did that change your career?
So before the pandemic, I was already in pandemic mode, if that makes sense, because I had just left New York City and I was in the middle of transitioning to another state. I had saved up some money to not force myself to do a job I didn't want to do and literally just focus on music. And from very young, my mentor trained me how to record myself. So I was already taking online sessions before the pandemic started. Most of my songs were getting done virtually because I was in New Mexico in the middle of nowhere and I had no connections out there. So, the pandemic for me just kind of put it on steroids. Like once everyone went virtual, there was just a lot more to do in the virtual spaces in terms of music goes. I got busy, even though, some people didn't experience the same scenarios. For me, like people were hitting me up left and right, like, oh, let's do an online session, and I knew exactly what to do.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any advice for young artists coming up now?
I would say that it's important to really be yourself, believe in yourself, and see yourself doing what it is that you want to do. Because if you're not there, the road to get to where you want to go is going to take that much longer because subconsciously you're blocking yourself.
Right.
I think once you're in a position where you can see it happening, you truly believe this dream that you have in your mind, then God is going to just add to your path the steps that you need to take to get there. But if you don't believe it, that's when you start tripping or you take the wrong exit, you go the wrong way, you look back, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I would say, truly believe.
What's your ultimate goal professionally? Like, let's see a glass like in the future. In 5 years, what do you see yourself doing?
I want to have my own label, and I want to be developing at least 3 artists and preparing them for a world stage. I definitely want to be on a world stage myself, and I also want to get into doing voiceovers for cartoons.
Yeah.
That's something I've always wanted to play around with. So yeah, like selling millions of records and having my own label, that's pretty much that's the ultimate dream.
What's your thought? I'd like to get independent artists' thoughts on something. What's your thoughts on the auto-tune? Do you think it helps a lot of artists? You think it's a hindrance? What's your thoughts on that?
I think that there's a lot of negative opinions on it. And these opinions come from people that don't create music, and so they don't truly understand what auto-tune is. And so auto-tune can be used in many ways. It can be used to stylize a particular voice, or it can be used to clean up little bits and pieces here and there. I think that when you're working in an industry where getting a record done costs you $100 an hour, auto-tune is your best friend, right? Because you don't have to spend so much time in getting the notes perfect. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that it should be a tool that you rely on. Like, you should be able to leave the studio and sing your song as close to pitch perfect as possible. And so people automatically think that if you use auto-tune, it means that you can't sing, and that's not the case. Even though that could be the case, it's not the case for everyone.
No, I agree.
And right now, auto-tune is standard in mixing and mastering records. You may not hear it because there's you can push auto-tune to be very what's the word I'm looking for? To be very like aware and in your face, to be obvious, or you can have the auto-tune be natural and blend with your voice, and you can never tell. But all songs that are on the radio right now have auto-tune on them. Even when you hear artists like her or Frank Ocean, people like that, they all have auto-tune on their voice. Does it mean that they can't sing? No. But then I can see why people would say that when you look at other vocalists that I'm not going to name because I don't want trouble, who use auto-tune. And it gives this perception that, like, if you use it, you can't sing, but that's not true. So that's my take on auto-tune.
Yeah. We talked about artists that you looked up to when you were younger. Who are you, like, into now? Like, who's in your playlist, Natalis?
I love her. I love Sabrina Claudio and Alina Baraz. I also love Kalani. Trying to think on the male side, who am I digging right now? Bruno Mars, for sure. Love him. And that new group that he started, what's it called again?
Oh, I'm not 100% sure on Bruno Mars. I'm more of I like a lot of things, but Bruno Mars isn't one thing that I'm super knowledgeable on. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. He merged with another artist, and they created like a duet. I can't remember the name of it, but they have this song called Leave the Door Open. That's out now.
Oh, yeah. Like, I'm better with songs rather than...
Well, that song is the new group that he's in. It's not him by himself.
Yeah, someone listening is going to message me and be like, it was blank. How could you forget that?
It's called Silk Sonic. I love them. I love Bad Bunny. I love J Balvin. I love Maluma. I love my Latin music too. So I got an array of things happening in my playlist.
Yeah, Bad Bunny. He makes so much money. That guy's like high rolling.
Yeah, because he started a genre that didn't exist, and he took that lane and ran right down the middle and took all the bags.
Would you do a collab with him?
I would love to. If I could afford him, 100%.
Yeah, I know everything's all about money, you know?
Yeah, most times. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate your time.
Same here. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
How can people find your music?
They can go to my website. My website has smart links to every song I've ever released. And my website is like my Instagram. It's natalisruby.com. So NATALISRUBY.com. All my music is there. Or they can just go to my Instagram and click on my link in my bio, and it'll take them to the most relevant thing. On Spotify, just type my name, Natalis. I'm the only artist that comes up, and follow me there too.
Your social media?
My social media is Natalis Ruby everywhere. On Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch. What's the other one? Triller. I'm on all of them.
Wait.
Natalis Ruby.
Wait, which one is that? I've never heard of that. Actually, I have, but I don't know what it is. What's Triller? What is that?
Triller is like a new TikTok. It's an app where you upload videos and pranks and stuff like that.
I'm 34, so I'm just now getting into this like Instagram Reels. I'm behind. Like I feel like Instagram Reels have been around for like 5 years, and
but no, they didn't release Reels to everyone. It was like a slow phase out of who could post Reels and who couldn't.
Yeah, I'm just now getting into them. So
well, there's now that Instagram is moving more to be like an entertainment app versus a picture app.
Really?
So, they're encouraging everyone to do Reels more than regular posts.
Well, aye, captains, you know. You stay safe, okay? And I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
You too, no problem. Send me the link to your blog again, so I can share it on my social media.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right, you have a good night.
You too. Bye.
Bye. There you have it. Another episode of Sensibly Cynical down the hatch. Once again, I would like to thank Natalis Ruby for coming on the podcast today. Make sure you hit up my boy on Instagram at SethCGC. There you'll find his link tree with links to his Amazon, Etsy, Teespring, and Redbubble. Coming up next on the podcast, I will be joined by professional wrestlers Prince Machiavelli and the Don Chaz Evans, better known as the tag team Pure Ignorance. Joining me for that episode will be Shizlansky. He will be my co-host for this special episode. I'm so excited to catch up with him as well. Be on the lookout for that as I dive into the world of independent wrestling. Check us out on Twitter at Cynical Sensibly, Instagram Sensibly Cynical Pod, and you can check out our Facebook group. Please subscribe, rate, and review us on iTunes. I would highly, highly, highly appreciate that. Thank you again for listening to the Sensibly Cynical podcast. Please stay safe and take care.